The Social Network is a movie about how Mark Zuckerberg managed to fuck over everyone he came in contact with who was unfortunate enough to go into business with him. And it's a really good movie. It's so good in fact that it took me on a wild-ass emotional roller coaster, and quite frankly, I still haven't recovered, my G. 0.03%, bro? Are you the devil? That's your best friend, nigga! What the fuck? Anyway, for the uninitiated, The Social Network is a movie about how Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook. But if you scale out and look at the bigger picture, you see that he essentially did it because his girlfriend broke up with him. I mean, the movie literally starts with their breakup and ends with him stalking her on Facebook 5 years later. Seems like a pretty straightforward story to me. So, I want to analyze the conversation that started the whole thing. The very scene that put the movie and Mark on this very specific trajectory. The last conversation he had before he got his heart broken and proceeded to change the world forever. Over the course of this 5-minute conversation, Mark makes 6 significant mistakes that led to him being single. Mistake number 1. He talked about himself too much. Way too much. In fact, I don't think he asked her a single question about herself, which is bad because regardless of who you're talking to, people like to talk about themselves, clearly evident by Mark's overt conversational preferences. You can't be the narcissistic jackass that spends all the time talking about themselves without ever caring about the interests or affairs of the human being you're talking to. I mean, damn bro. Even your therapist wouldn't mind if you asked her how her day was going every once in a while. You never want to be the guy that's so self-obsessed that is unable to express even a modicum of genuine interest in the person sitting across from him. It's not cool, it's going to decrease your conversational appeal, and nobody's going to want to talk to you anymore. Mistake number 2. He projected his insecurities about, okay, hold up, wait. For context, they're talking about these exclusive clubs in school called final clubs that Mark really wants to join, and she asks him which would be the easiest club to get into. He then picks offense, twists her words, and tells her she's implying that the easiest one to get into will be the one where he has the highest probability of getting in, meaning that he's not good enough to get into the best club. Now, this is just blatantly unattractive because he's trying to project his insecurities of not getting to the club on her and trying to blame her for the thoughts he clearly already has swirling around in his own head. Usually, when a person intentionally misinterprets your words and twist them so they turn into something that offends them, those are things that they already subconsciously believe about themselves deep down, but they're too much of a coward to confront those self-deprecating thoughts. So they project them onto the words of other people and choose to get angry at those people instead of directly dealing with their blatantly inherent lack of self-esteem. Your girlfriend doesn't believe you can't get into the best clubs, Mark. You do. Mistake numero 3. Now, as self-respecting members of society, we shouldn't allow other people to overtly disrespect us without putting our foot down. But as a man, easily being offended is incredibly unattractive because it just shows that you care too much about minuscule bullshit and any little thing can get a reaction out of you. Plus, you're also less fun because now when people are laughing at genuinely funny jokes, you're killing the vibe because you're too insecure to learn how to relax and not take yourself so seriously. Organically segueing back to Mark's train wreck of a conversation, after dealing with a narcissistically sensitive soon-to-be ex-boyfriend for all of 3 minutes, she starts making very valid jokes about how they've been talking about finals clubs for way too long.
Final clubs. At finals clubs.
Suck my fucking dick, nigga. And Mark picks offense again for the second time in the same conversation. Instead of him seeing the validity of her jokes and taking that as a prompt to shift the conversation in her direction, he tells her that she needs to be more supportive, and this then leads us directly into our 4th mistake. Yup, he made 2 significant mistakes in 1 line of dialogue.
I want to try to be straightforward with you and tell you that I think you might want to be a little more supportive. If I get in, I will be taking you to the events.
Wait for it.
And the gatherings, and you'll be meeting a lot of people you wouldn't normally get to meet.
You would do that for me?
We're dating.
Okay.
You might not have caught it because I didn't catch it the first time as well, but he just called her poor and low class, while simultaneously heavily implying that she also only interacts with other people of low class right to her fucking face. She instantly breaks up with him because she still has her self-respect.
Well, I want to try and be straightforward with you and let you know that we're not anymore.
What do you mean?
We're not dating anymore, I'm sorry.
Is this a joke?
No, it's not.
And in an attempt to further prove his point for some fucking reason, he calls her a slut.
Hold down.
What is it supposed to mean?
Erica, the reason we're able to sit here and drink right now is because you used to sleep with the door guy.
Which leads us directly to our 6th but definitely not our final mistake.
Is this real?
Yes.
Okay, then wait, I apologize, okay?
I have to go study.
Erica?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I mean it.
I appreciate that, but I have to go study.
Come on, you don't have to study, let's just talk.
He starts apologizing and begs her to stay, which is just the universally worst way to appeal to a woman that wants to leave you.
All I meant is that you're not likely to... Currently. I wasn't making a comment on your parents, I was just saying that you go to BU. I was stating a fact, that's all, and if it seemed rude, then of course I apologize.
I have to go study.
He then doubles down and reinforces the same point of her being poor and low class again by stating that she goes to a low tier school and classifies it as him just stating a fact.
I was stating a fact, that's all.
At this point, he's just begging to be slapped in the face. But the thing is, he's actually unaware or at the very least unsure of whether or not he just insulted her, so he keeps apologizing just in case. But he's apologizing not because he said the things he said, because remember, his brain just classifies that as him stating a logical fact. He's apologizing because she took offense at the fact that he was simply accurately describing her reality, essentially implying that she's the one in the wrong for having human emotions and not him for stating facts of reality, but also letting her know that he's gracious enough to say the silly little words that will make her feel better. Now, having seen all that, this nigga might actually be on the spectrum because bro lacks empathy, bro is egotistical, bro strictly communicates logically and autonomically disregards all emotional cues. In essence, bro is unable to talk to human beings. We know all this is true because after doing all that apologizing, he immediately invalidates the sentiments and fucking triples down on his point of her being poor and low class by implying that her low tier university only houses dumb people and has low standards of excellence, so she doesn't need to study to pass their courses, which is the excuse she has been used to try and end their date early.
I have to go study.
You don't have to study.
Why do you keep saying I don't have to
Because
study?
you go to BU.
At the end of the conversation, she tells me that when he becomes a successful computer person, he'll go through his life thinking that girls don't like him because he's a nerd, but that won't be true because it'll be because he's an asshole. Which is true, and I know this is factual because I was once the person that he is right now. So unempathetic and truly logically minded to the point where I don't even take into account the other person's emotions. Looking back now, that was a rather unflattering period of my life, but there is this one very specific example from my past that perfectly embodies her final statement to him. Similar to him, in this one conversation I had with a very close female friend of mine, I failed to take into account her emotions and I was strictly focusing on the facts of the matter. In my head, I was trying to help her out, but in reality, all I did was push her away. Where our situations diverge is that, unlike Mark that got his diagnosis immediately, it wasn't until a few months later that she told me that I was being an asshole. At first, I was genuinely shocked when she said it, but after replaying the conversation over and over in my head, I finally saw what she was talking about. This is how I know that this...
If I get in, I will be taking you to the events and the gatherings, and you'll be meeting a lot of people you wouldn't normally get to meet.
Yeah, that shit right there, that's just the way Mark is. And I know he's not doing it intentionally because neither was I. Luckily for me, I was able to pick up on my mistakes and learn the necessary lessons from that experience, but Mark didn't have as much luck in that department, as you'll see if you go on to watch the rest of the movie.
You signed the papers. You set me up. You're gonna blame me because you were the business head of the company and you made a bad business deal with your own company?
When he talks, Mark isn't trying to be an asshole or rude or inconsiderate. He just lacks certain social cues which most of us have that let us know when we're being unpleasant. But on top of being an unintentional asshole, he's still incredibly egotistical, so after the breakup, he doesn't evaluate his actions to see what he could have done better, how he could have, rephrased his words to lead to a more desirable outcome, or even try and see things from a perspective. Nope, he just goes home and starts talking shit about her online.
Erica Albright's a bitch.
But hey, his breakup led to him making Facebook, and mine led me to 10% body fat. So I guess it all worked out. Subscribe to the Patreon for Weird Thoughts, my weekly Patreon exclusive member controlled podcast where I answer questions submitted by tier 3 members, review movies suggested by the tier 2 members, and react to Reddit stories and text messages submitted by the tier 1 members. Well, this was fun. Subscribe to the Patreon, link in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next analysis.